Welcome to the Sons of UCF, a unique UCF podcast experience. Now, say hello to Adam and Mike.
Yes, we are indeed the Sons of UCF. I'm Adam, and UCF Mike is with me as always. Michael, greetings, my friend. How are you?
Doing fantastic, man. We went 1-0 again this week, so I feel good. How you doing?
I'm also 1-0. I'm feeling 1-0 at least, and everyone else should be too, because it was a really good performance by the Knights. We'll be here to break it all down. So this show will cover our good, our bad, our ugly. We have a little unique spin on that, so we'll share all that with you. We'll also debut a new segment, UCF Observations. You're gonna want to stick around for these. I think those would be a lot of fun. We broke out the Hypel translator. It's moved with us. We've dusted it off. We think it works, so we will see if we can break out the Josh Hypel translator. UCF Mike will give you his weekly picks, and as always, Cow of the Week. All of that is coming up first. But before we get anywhere, let's make sure you know who we are and what we do. We are the Sons of UCF. If you're listening to us, we appreciate you for doing that. You can find us on any major podcast platform. We're getting on all of them now, Mike. I think we're now on an Amazon platform. I think we're on TuneIn. We're on a lot of different things. So find us wherever you find your podcast. Be sure to subscribe. And do us a favor, give us a little rating, a little review. Somebody out there, and I don't know who you are, Mike, somebody had the nerve to give us a 1-star rating. Do you believe that?
There's haters everywhere, man. I'll take whatever rating, but yeah, I don't know who that guy is. He's some kind of jerk.
Yeah, we got a 1-star.
Maybe he just clicked the wrong button. I don't know. We got a 1-star rating. So now we need a couple more 5-star ratings to balance that 1-star rating out. So if you like who we are, if you like what we do us a fave, go on your favorite podcast platform, iTunes specifically, and go ahead and drop a little 5-star. If we've earned 5 stars from you, we'd happily take it. If you've got some time, we want to write out a little review as well. We'd love it for that too. We have some really cool reviews on there, some really funny stuff, some real cool stuff. So we appreciate everybody for taking the time to do that. If you want to follow us on social media, we are on all of your major platforms. If you want to find at Sons of UCF, you can search that. You'll find us on Twitter, you'll find us on Instagram, and you'll find us on Facebook. Mike, I know you got some other Facebook deals going on. Where else can people find us on Facebook? We have a Sons of UCF page, a Sons of UCF group, and we just have our own Sons of UCF Facebook, which is called Adam and Mike, or actually just Adam Mike is the name. And, we post links to things like the pregame show that we did this week, any kind of important UCF updates we'll have on there, and just things to interact with the fans with.
So we're big on the Facebook. Make sure you follow us on there as well. Mike alluded to it. We tried out a new pregame show this week. We got some good feedback, Mike. I think it went well. We'll probably continue to keep trying that for a couple of weeks and see how it goes. But a big thanks to everybody who tuned in to the pregame show. You can still find that replay. It's still available on Twitter. I think it's still available on Facebook as well. So if you haven't seen it, you want to just check back in. A couple of special guests and a video bomb that we were not expecting. We did not plan this video bomb, but a former UCF player happened to just walk across the screen while we were in the middle of something. So be sure to check that out if you want to learn more about that, Mike. But the pregame show, that was a lot of fun.
That was a great time. We had a lot of fun. We found Trace. Trace was gone for a while. We found Trace. He's back now. And special thanks to our guy, Paul Jones, who is at the Alumni Association down in West Palm Beach. He gave us a look in there on how the watch party was going. And our friend Libby, we saw her. We saw the inside of her ear. We saw parts of Libby that we didn't know we were going to see.
Yes.
But she was having a good time out there at the stadium and ran into, I guess we can tell people you don't want to tell people who she was hanging out with. You want them to go check out the show now?
They should check it. Yeah, let's, we're on our own now, Mike. We're professionals. Let's tease this. Go find out who joined us on the live pregame show. But a lot of good comments were coming in. We were able to put those on the screen. So it was a lot of fun. We'll get better with it. Obviously, our first time trying it, and all of us working together. So hopefully you'll check that out as well too. But before you do all that, you're gonna want to check out the rest of this show, Mike, and it's gonna be a good one because UCF traveled up to Atlanta, Georgia, took on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets or the Rambling Wreck. I'm not quite sure. I always get confused when teams have multiple nicknames like that. I don't know what to call them. Either way, we went up there, Mike, and the result was a 49-21 UCF victory. The game was relatively close as you entered the fourth quarter. UCF put on the gas and never looked back, scored 3 unanswered touchdowns, and that pretty much sealed the deal for UCF. That did get us additional voting results in the AP poll, Mike. We did jump up to, 13 now in the AP. But somehow we dropped 2 in the coaches. I think we're 15 now in the coaches poll. So we're behind some teams that haven't played in both of those particular polls, which is just frustrating and maddening all at the same time. So UCF continued to at least move a little bit from a polling perspective. But all in all, Mike, a really good showing, an ABC game. UCF fared really well on Saturday.
Yeah, team looked solid. That's for sure. A couple big quarters there in the second and the fourth quarter to put the game away. A little lull in there, but that's to be expected. First game back. But you're talking about the rankings. The coaches, they did not include the Big Ten last week. Now the Big Ten's back in there, and they snuck in a couple teams ahead of us, which was to be expected. But actually, not as many teams ahead of us now as there were back then, right? Weren't there about 7 teams ahead of us? I guess that included some of the Pac-12 teams, like Oregon.
Yeah.
But still, I think only 2 teams ahead of us now. I think we might have actually moved up a little bit in that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, the polls are going to be annoying all year long because there's we saw the news this weekend, Mike. The Big Ten has decided to jump back in, and they're going to start playing games come October 24th. So teams are not going to be, at an even number of games played. Some teams obviously are going to lose games based on, COVID concerns and other quarantine aspects. This entire year in the polls is just going to be really screwy because you may have a 3-0 team, ranked ahead of an 8-0 team at some point, right? Just because of the way the optics are, or, a 4-0 team is ahead of a 6-1 team, and the schedules just aren't lined up. This is just going to be a screwy year with the polls. I think at UCF we've taken the mantra that the polls, while they control our fate to an extent, they don't define our team and kind of who we are. I think that'll continue to be true this year because I think the entirety of the poll system is just going to be out of whack this year.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with the polls right now, and who knows? They haven't even made any decisions about the postseason. I wouldn't be surprised if they added teams to the postseason. I mean, they can still do that. They haven't said there's a minimum number of games you have to play. They're still discussing that, whether they should have a minimum number of games to be eligible for the playoff. So if they're still deciding on that rule, what's to say they can't just say, all right, well, we'll make it a 16 playoff or an 18 playoff. And maybe if that happened, we'd have more hope to get in.
Yeah, but who the heck knows? So the polls are what they are. Just sit tight, everybody. I don't know what to make of those. I think it's going to be just an ebb and flow throughout the entire season. The one thing that we can't control is the Josh Heupel mantra, and that's go 1-0, which we did that week. And we'll look to do that again next week, Mike. As Saturday approaches, we will be heading to Greenville, South Carolina to face ECU, a team who has not yet played a game, so it'll be their first contest. It'll be obviously our second game. It's a high noon kickoff on the highly coveted ESPN Plus channel platform. So for those of you who don't have ESPN Plus, you still have a few days to figure out how to get that. I know there's some trial deals out there. You can maybe get it for a month and move on. I'm not sure if local bars or watch parties are going to be happening with that, Mike, but high noon ESPN Plus for the ECU contest. And as we get into that, a couple of things we still don't know. We didn't get a lot of clarity on. We'll clean up from the game this past Saturday. Injuries. We saw a handful of injuries, Mike. This is going to be surprising to you, but Josh Heupel didn't give you any clarity on that. So we don't yet know what we're dealing with here. Parker Boudreaux, we learned a little before kickoff, was out in concussion protocol. So he did not play against Georgia Tech. And we don't know, obviously, where his status is from this upcoming week. We saw Antoine Collier, safety, on the ground a couple of times. Ended up eventually leaving the game with what appeared to be maybe an arm-shoulder injury. He did have shoulder problems last year. He did not return. Again, no status update on him. Greg McCrae got sort of rolled up on a run. Looked like could have been a knee, could have been an ankle. There are some people saying that he was walking around just fine after the game. He looked okay, but we'll see what that holds. And then perhaps maybe the most serious of the injuries, Trey Nixon went down on a touchdown catch, went on what we thought was his shoulder. There's obviously some speculation that it could be his collarbone. If you heard the comments after the game, a lot of his teammates were talking about this in the context of sending prayers and wishing him well. So it did not sound like a short-term injury, but obviously Heupel did not really announce much today, but speculation is running rampant that it is a collarbone. And if that's the case, Mike, you're looking at 6 to 8 weeks for Trey Nixon.
Oh, that's horrible news. We seem to be cursed now with the opening games having key injuries. Last year with the Bam Moore out for the rest of the year, and Trey Nixon, who was having a great game, by the way. A couple touchdowns, looked great. And actually, I made a comment to my wife, the only other people that were in the room. He looked bigger this year. You're
not sure you're not sure who you were with or what happened there.
I don't think anybody was paying attention to me, or knew what I was talking about anyway. But he looked bulkier this year. He looked like he had put on some muscle, and boom, falls on his shoulder, and maybe his collarbone is messed up. Who knows how long he's going to be out? 8 weeks at the worst, if we're thinking that puts him where? Maybe coming back to the last couple games of the year, maybe for the November games against Temple and Cincinnati and the Cows.
Yeah,
that's just horrible news. Hopefully not as bad. Maybe we can get him back sometime soon.
And again, this is obviously speculation. Heupel has not confirmed anything, but the reality is he's not going to confirm anything. So it's really hard to tell what's happening there. Obviously, some other guys kind of nicked up. We also did hear today Mason Chiloa, who was an opt-out guy, had announced today that he will be seeking a transfer and entering the transfer portal. So it sounds like Mason's career at UCF will come to an end. That's unfortunate, Mike. He was a really solid player for us. But obviously with the D-line, actually it was pretty stout. I know we'll talk about that later on too. But looks like one more player will move into the transfer portal space in Mason Chiloa.
Well, that's never good. You always want as much depth as possible. He was already out for this year. But to see him move on, he's got to do what's best for him. If he thinks he's not going to get any playing time here, or for whatever reason, I don't know the kid personally. Does he have family somewhere else? Does he want to move because of some other reasons, not to do with football? Maybe. But good luck to him, and hope for the best.
Well, all in all, UCF moves to 3-0 in opening games in the Josh Heupel era. So a stat that hopefully will continue for a long time. Mike and I are going to take a quick commercial break right here. If you'll endure this on our behalf, we'd much appreciate it. When we come back, we will give you our game breakdown. It's only the Sons of UCF do. Sit tight. Quick commercial break, and we'll be right back after this. All right, it is time now for the Sons of UCF game breakdown. If you're new to the show, we do something a little bit unique. We try to do a little bit of a good, better, best, or what we thought was good, bad, and ugly. Come to find out, apparently we weren't the first people to ever use good, bad, or ugly, and everyone got up in arms about that. So no worries. We adjusted on the fly. And so what Mike and I have done previous seasons is we've gone through specific categories of the game, and we've given you particular examples or things that called to us that represent those categories. But as we did that, we realized let's do this as kind of a unique name. So Mike and I came up with 4 distinct different category options. We named them after various bowl victories that UCF has had over time. So, for example, our top category, the best thing we saw, the best of the best of the best, we call the peach category for reasons that are probably pretty obvious to you. Kind of our next tier, if you will, a tier below that, we call the Liberty Bowl. That's the 2010 Liberty Bowl because that's the good one, the one that brought UCF its first bowl victory. So those are the 2 kind of positive categories. Then you switch to the negative side, and we went to the Hawaii Bowl as kind of our first minor negative, not too important, but still not a good thing. And that is, again, circa 2005, UCF's 1-point loss to Nevada in the Hawaii Bowl. And the worst of the worst, the category that just defines just the crappiness, we call the Cure Bowl category. 2016, UCF went to the Cure Bowl and got stomped 31-13 by Arkansas State. So those are the 4 categories. So when we say peach, when we say Liberty, when we say Hawaii or Cure, that's how you determine what it is that we are talking about. Instead of this year, Mike, having us go through and try to find something in each category, which oftentimes is a bit of a challenge because UCF has had a pretty good luck streak and we're often nitpicking and we're finding new things. Here's what we're going to do. You and I are each going to give you our top 3 items. There are 3 big takeaways, and they can be from any of the different categories that we choose. So you could have 3 Hawaiis, you could have 3 peaches. The whole thing could just go topsy-turvy, upside down, but that's why you're all here, right? So that's how we're going to work this out, Mike. Each of us will go with our 3. We'll alternate. And after that long preamble, I'm sure you're dying for me to shut up. So, Mike, why don't you start first? Give us your first key note from the game.